Welcome back, everyone, to the Mad Nerds podcast with Mike and Dave. I, of course, am your host, Dave Superhero Deuce, here as always with the co-host, Mike.
Mike is the hat all over the internet. Do it.
Yes, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Find us. It's awesome. All right, so not a packed week, but there were some pretty huge things that happened this week. We're going to get to the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer that has broken the internet. As of last night, it had 32 million views in 2 days of being on the internet. You're welcome, everybody. We'll get to that after our normal discussions, of course, as we start always with Gotham. They had their 5th episode after the strong Arkham episode last week. That was pretty good. We had this one. We had the Viper drug and a lot of good stuff going on. Mike, what'd you think?
I thought this episode was really good as well. It sets up a lot of things so the story can move forward. You had the whole Cobblepot Maroney James Gordon thing where they find out that Penguin's supposed to be dead, but Gordon didn't pull the trigger, and now somebody else knows that's not Penguin and James. So Maroney tries to use that to his advantage. You had the Viper drug thing. You had Bruce Wayne still digging, doing his detective work. The Viper drug thing building into what could be an appearance of Bane at some point in the show if it keeps going, because they talk about Viper being the precursor to Venom. Just a lot of good things going on in this episode for me as a whole.
Yeah, good catch there on that Easter egg, too, with the Bane thing. A lot of people might not have caught that. See, I like this episode. Like you said, it was good on its own, but it also had to do some universe building, which was great. I liked that we got this reveal that Fish Mooney isn't the only one in Falcone's organization that thinks he should be taken down. You have that Alexi guy that had to put on kind of a big scene in order for all that to set up. And then, of course, Fish Mooney is sleeping with Alexi. So they're planning on taking him out, and they got, what's her name? Lacey, I believe. Liza, yeah. Put in place, and she, of course, has now seduced Falcone, so I'm really curious to see where that's going to go. It's really a good setup for the show.
Yeah, then you had the whole casino robbery to set up the war between Falcone and Maroney, because Penguin knows the guy inside the casino that can get Maroney's guys, in the back door and kind of get them out. So there's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on as far as the Mafia goes in this show, which is great.
Yeah, and I like, too, that Maroney pointed out, hey, you know what, Cobblepot, you have some skills. Like, yeah, you're a little bit of a weenie sometimes, but you've got the skills of what it takes to get to the top of an organization. So a lot of that stuff really worked in this. And Maroney encouraged Cobblepot, hey, you know what, keep Penguin. Penguin's a good name. So I like that. It's giving him a reason to keep the name the Penguin, other than that people used it to make fun of him, which is one of the things that we didn't like at the beginning of the show. We're like, okay, if this is like his... they're ridiculing him name, this is dumb. Like, why would you do that? So I like that it's coming from out of a place of, good, and that his secret is out now. So I thought that was a really good tone for the episode. It was good. I liked it, at least. And that Viper drug was just nuts. I mean, there was some kind of bad computer graphics effects with the first guy as he's, lifting up the ATM machine and taking it out of the wall. That was just ridiculous for me.
I thought that was amazing. When he went to throw, not so much when he was pulling it out of the wall and walking away with it on the camera. When he went to throw it at Bullock and Gordon, and his bones just disintegrated, that was so intense. I was like, holy, I just was.
Yeah, and then when that a lady inside the Gotham PD just shriveled up and died right in front of the Riddler, I was like, oh man, that is hilarious.
Yeah, he was great again in this episode, where he was just kind of that weird. He has the voice already, the voice that you want from the Riddler, where he has that real. It kind of sounds like Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka character, where it's that weird kind of dark, but upbeat voice for whatever reason.
Yeah, and that was one of the points I made. You know what? I like having the Riddler on the screen more. I thought he was a great addition to this episode. He is kind of funny, and he's just a different tone than everybody else. And when he's in a room with other people that he can play off of, like with Bullock and with Jim Gordon, I thought that was great. I hope to see more of him. I hope that they can find a way to get him more involved, and how he's I've never seen this before. But he wasn't so punny this time. It was very much a serious character trait for him, and they actually gave him something to do, which was nice.
Yeah, and now, like, even this whole Wayne Enterprises, like, dark side thing
Yeah, it's getting curious.
is starting to pique my interest a lot, even though, I mean, my interest was piqued because it's Batman show, but, like, this is trying to build something that you don't see really in the comic books. The only time you ever saw Wayne Enterprises was, I feel like, in the Nolan movies, where they had, Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox and all that stuff going on behind the scenes in his, research and development.
Yeah, and what's interesting, too, I liked it how this just opens right away with Bruce doing detective work. He's trying to understand how Gotham works, and Alfred doesn't understand. And, Bruce is asking questions like, well, if my parents knew about the corruption, why didn't they do something to stop it? And at the end of the episode, they kind of leave you thinking, well, man, Wayne Enterprises is corrupt. Did somebody inside Wayne Enterprises put a hit on the Waynes, like, so that they could get their way? I'm curious. I think it was a great setup with how they definitely showed there's some corruption going on there. And then at the end of the episode, Alfred wants to help Bruce because he understands, hey, something's up. We got to figure this out.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved that Alfred sat down with the boxes with Bruce and started digging through files, because that's building into, if ever it gets there, the relationship that they have as Batman and Alfred that we know from the comic books and the movies and all that stuff, where he helps him, look up things on the Bat computer and all that to be like his sidekick before he gets to Robin.
Right, and so a lot of that stuff that's been working has been good. I mean, there's still a couple things. As far as the show being enjoyable, the show is definitely enjoyable. Like, my ratings for this week's episode kind of vary, and I'll explain that. Because I'm still not sure that the show knows what it is yet. Because last week we had a show very grounded in reality, very gritty, and then this week was very, like, comic booky and funny and weird, and had a lot of humor. So we get 1 week we're serious, and the next week we're funny. And then, if we continue on this trail, like, next week looks like it's going to be super serious. We might be getting Scarecrow or someone like that. I couldn't really tell. Maybe, Mike, you might be able to shed some light on that. But like the line where the old man takes the Viper and is like bending his walker, yeah, it's hilarious. And then Bullock's like, "What's altruism?" And I just died. I even wrote that down. What's altruism? Best line of the show. But then next week they may have like no humor. So I still think the show just needs to find what it's going to be and stick with it, and then just be more consistent. But as far as enjoyment, man, I loved this episode.
Yeah. Again, Bullock, Donald Logue, scene stealer extraordinaire.
I think it's a thing every week. This is the only consistent thing, is Donald Logue is getting thrown around by all kinds of people. He got thrown around by a black lady. He got thrown around by an old man this week. I'm probably forgetting some, but he just likes to get thrown through walls and thrown around. It's hilarious. I love it.
Well, that's the thing, is they're playing him up to be the ultra tough guy cop, but then he goes out and gets his butt kicked every week on the beat with Jim, and that's how eventually Jim Gordon becomes, hero cop, and Bullock stays where he is, and then, Gordon has Bullock working for him.
Yeah, it just kind of explains why Bullock doesn't like to go out into the field and likes to do very little work.
Exactly. He'd rather eat lunch. It's lunchtime, Jim. It's lunchtime.
Yeah, we gotta eat. So did you see the preview for next week's episode? Does that look like Scarecrow to you? Because it kind of had that fear thing going on.
There's a lot of things that could be. It was just a very vague. I feel like they left it open, but it could be Scarecrow. It's up in the air for me. I don't want to give like a definitive answer because who knows? The way they're going, you never know what's going on. And I mean, they do have Arkham open now, so they could have that, little line where they have the psychiatrist guy that's in and out of the Arkham Asylum if they wanted to keep it as Dr. Jonathan Crane, as well as, he could be a professor of some sort because they built in that little bit where they went to the school last week. There's a whole bunch of different ways they can go if that is the Scarecrow. Either way, definitely looks like a good Halloween-themed episode, of course, with Halloween coming up here in just a few days. So, Mike, talk about the ratings for this episode. What did you give it as a score, and what were kind of some of the TV numbers? All right, so I'm going to go to TV numbers first. It was 2.3 out of 7 rating share this week. It lost 300,000 viewers, though. It's only doing a 6.09 for this week. DVR numbers still haven't been released for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think those take about 3 weeks to get out for some reason, but...
No, it is what it is. But it's...
Yeah.
Overall, I would give this one an 8. I'd say an 8. Just because there's room for improvement. There's a lot of things that I liked. There wasn't much that I disliked about this episode, if anything at all. Nothing really comes to mind right away about things I didn't like. So I love that there's a lot of story building, a lot of things going on around Gotham that people are starting to move towards, other things. The Liza thing now makes sense with the Maroni, or with Falcone and, the Russian mafia guy, Alexei and Fish Mooney. That whole thing is starting to set itself up to see how they're going to try and overthrow Falcone, and then he's just going to be like, get out of here with this. Hopefully hopefully Fish Mooney only lasts the first season, and then we can go into normal Batman things.
Right, yeah. I agree. As far as a score, I have 2 different scores, and I kind of already explained it. As far as enjoyment, as far as what I thought about the episode, as just a fan and enjoying it for fun, I gave it an 8.5. I had a lot of fun with this episode. But as far as, like I said, there's some tonal things that I think the show still needs to work out. I'm going to say 6.5, because it still could use some work. So ultimately, if you're going to just take an aggregate score, it's around a 7, a 7.5. Really fun, a lot of things it can improve on still, but it's off to a good start. It's solid, and hopefully Fox, they've already picked it up for a full season, and hopefully it stays around for far more than that. So
yeah, exactly. It went from an original 16 episode order to a full 22 episode order, so that's good. That's good things for the show.
They can tell longer form stories, and we may not see this kind of sporadic tone, because you can only do so much in 16. Now over 22, you get a little bit more chance to story tell, and you can develop some characters, get some good character arc in there. So I hope they do some of that.
Yeah. Speaking of character development and story arcs, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week, episode 5, A Hen in the Wolf House, it was titled.
Yes.
David, what was going on in the Marvel Universe TV show?
A lot. Simmons is undercover at Hydra, of course, one of our favorite scientists of the Fitzsimmons combo. And she has been exposed by Raina, who is, of course, working with Skye's dad. And Hydra captured Raina at the end of last week's episode and said they wanted the obelisk. The head of Hydra, the Kraken, captured her and said, hey, you have 48 hours to bring me the obelisk. I think that's fair. And so she goes to Skye's father and says, hey, I need the obelisk because I need to give this back to Hydra and Daniel Whitehall. And Skye's father starts to kind of lose it a bit. He's doing some underground, doctor work and surgical procedures that he's not supposed to be doing. So that's, of course, all just awesome. He's just really dirty. But then he kind of starts to go crazy, and he's like, I'm not a monster, and he's like, are you more afraid of Hydra than you are of me? And so she walks out of there, and she's like, they're going to kill me. And he's like, well, that's your problem. It's like, wow, okay, thank you for that, sir. But as the episode goes on, she's like, okay, well, the only way that I can get what I want is if I get Phil Coulson and company involved. So she calls up Phil Coulson and says, okay, if you don't, give me what I want, I'm going to expose Agent Simmons within Hydra. And we're thinking, crap, because they know that there's a mole in Hydra. Mockingbird, but we didn't know that at the time, was Hydra's head of security, of course, also undercover for S.H.I.E.L.D. So that's kind of the downer about having a comic book character, playing an undercover person. You're like, okay, well, you're going to be good eventually. I didn't like that they only had Simmons undercover for a little bit, but we did find out that Hydra wants to use the obelisk to weaponize its effects as like a massive as a mass casualty infection of sorts. They tried it out on some military at the beginning of the episode, which was just really dark. And we got a lot of cool reveals in this episode. So, and by the end of the episode, Raina is, of course, working with S.H.I.E.L.D., not by choice, but simply so she can survive. Skye's father has gone and is working with Hydra now. And Mockingbird is back with S.H.I.E.L.D., so is Simmons, so they're not undercover anymore. And you get this whole dynamic of, okay, so what's going to happen next? Like, there's been some team-ups going on. And then, of course, Agent Hunter, it's revealed that his terrible ex-wife is actually Mockingbird, which was really funny, and I'm looking forward to that dynamic, as well as Fitz getting reunited with Simmons after she kind of left him. There was a big emotional scene when they got reunited. So a lot going on with this show. Next week, the preview has made no qualms about what's happening. It's going to be a huge covert mission because Hydra disguises themselves as S.H.I.E.L.D. and attacks the United Nations. That has awesome written all over it.
Yeah, that is going to be what me and my friend Jeff like to call the money episode right there.
Oh, it's going to be the money.
It's entitled A Fractured House, by the way.
Yes, so as far as this episode goes, like I said, there was a lot of, futuristic things going on because Skye knows who her father is as far as what he looks like. She called him a monster. He has some kind of super strength. So once again, I'm kind of sticking along the lines of Alien or an Inhuman, kind of like Black Bolt, and something they're pushing really big in the comics right now. We'll see how that goes. Coulson openly said to Skye, "We think you might be an alien." I think that's pretty neat. He's like, it's a theory. Basically kind of saying what the fans have been saying. We think Skye's an alien, but we have no way to confirm that, so we're just going to have to wait and see. Mockingbird is going to be in this next episode. We get to see her in action in her tactical suit that looks basically just like the comics, except they made it a little bit darker and more friendly for TV. Adrian Palicki, amazing. If anybody is built to play a superheroine character, it's Adrian Palicki. She is 5'11" without any kind of help. So she just looks awesome on the screen. And she had her, I believe they're called staves, that's what they're called, and she could put them together and make like a long bow. And she just fought off Hydra dudes and just smash, 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 smack. Yeah, it was awesome. And then, of course, they had the cloaked jet. So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. continues to be awesome. Amazing second season. Thank you, ABC, for renewing this show. I gave this episode a 9 out of 10.
So you give it a 9 out of 10. It got a 1.6 out of 4 rating share with a 4.36 million viewers. So the viewers are staying right around the same as they've been all year, and so is their rating thing. So it's doing well, just like Gotham, just like any other comic book franchise right now seems to be doing amazing.
Yep, it's doing incredibly well with the young demographic, which is what ultimately counts, as well as their DVR numbers, which are really good. And their Watch ABC numbers and so on and so forth are really good. So this show isn't going anywhere. It's only getting better. And I have a feeling that Skye's origin is going to be revealed here pretty quickly. They seem to be going down that road.
Yeah, and you keep mentioning the comic books. Like, anytime I think of a woman in comics that's a costumed character, not like a Gwen Stacy or, a Mary Jane, that's somebody that's out of a costume that's just like supposed to be a civilian. I always think that they have to clean up a lot of this stuff for television and movies. A lot of their costumes can be pretty revealing at times.
Right. Mockingbird's isn't so much that because she is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, so hers didn't have a whole lot of revealing stuff. It's just that I guess because a lot of her costume was white, and white does not play good on TV, so they had to change it to gray. So fans really shouldn't care too much about that. I read the press release from the costume designer, because I was just curious. I'm like, okay, why is it gray? And they said, well, white just doesn't look good with TV cameras. Like, it just doesn't show up well. Which, I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. How many superheroes actually wear white on screen? Very few.
It's a tough white balance thing, too, that's kind of a pain just from us doing, like, I was doing stuff in high school with video production. It's a pain to white balance a lot of things.
Yep, so it just makes sense. I think it's going to be a great episode coming up. Ward's brother is going to be in it. For those of you who watch the show, you know that Ward is still underneath the S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. He's probably going to get unleashed this week, so a lot of good stuff to look forward to. Great, strong stuff from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
All right, so let's get into what's happening in the print world, the print medium, the actual comic books that these great television shows are based off of. So what's going on in Marvel, David? What has come out this week from the Marvel Comics universe?
The few big ones are Magneto number 11, which is an Axis tie-in. Just an amazing book. Amazing reviews on this thing. Magneto's questioning himself. We see him kind of put together his team of villains that we mentioned last week that we saw in Axis number 2. So it was great to see. Magneto's doubting himself. But the thing is, he has a friend in the comic that basically tells him, because he's saying, I'm a terrible person, everything they say about me is true. And they said, no, you're not a terrible person. It's all really a matter of perspective based on who thinks you're bad and who thinks you're good. So that was awesome because it really is true. You know what? Magneto going against people, it's really just a fight for his own survival. It's the same thing. It's, of course, the opposite of Charles Xavier, who says, I want to work with people. You could easily say the same thing, that Magneto is just as right as Professor X in everything that he does. So I thought that was really cool how they showed that coming together and like his awesome villain team of like Deadpool. It shows him like talking and recruiting Deadpool and Doctor Doom and his awesome villain team from last week, Hobgoblin, who also got his own comic. Oddly enough, Hobgoblin #1 Axis tie-in. Speaking of Axis, Axis #3 came out this week. I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, but definitely if you're keeping up with that event, be sure to pick that up. Amazing Spider-Man #8 was a Spider-Verse tie-in, and Miles Morales showed up in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. So that's pretty awesome, having Miles and Peter Parker face-to-face, fighting together. And then, of course, Death of Wolverine just finished, but Marvel wouldn't be Marvel without capitalizing on this. So they had Death of Wolverine Logan's Legacy #1 come out. You have, like, Doc in and people like that going around. And basically, life after Wolverine. He's not in it, but the comic says Wolverine on it, so people will pick it up. It was a pretty solid week for Marvel as far as comics go. Definitely continue to follow the Axis event, continue to follow the Spider-Verse event, and the Death of Wolverine event as it winds down.
Yep, so over here on the DC side, we had some debuts this week. Arkham Manor #1, which it looks like the Arkham inmates are going to Wayne Manor and kind of trying to take over. Which the title page, like the art on this is something I've never seen before in a Batman book, which is crazy. We got one of my favorite characters, Deathstroke, getting his second standalone comic with Deathstroke #1 that came out this Wednesday. They had the Gotham City Sirens book 1 graphic novel come out, which has all the female characters in Gotham City running amok, it looks like.
Wow.
One of the books that jumped out to me was Harley Quinn #11, because Power Girl's on the cover with Harley Quinn. Apparently Power Girl has come back to Earth and has amnesia, and Harley convinces Power Girl that her and Harley are best friends.
Oh, wow.
And they are a superhero team together, so that seems like it'd be pretty interesting. Now, of course, Future's End continues this week with #25. That's been just one of the craziest comic book stories I've ever read. Next week's issue, #26, which we'll talk about on the next episode. I'm just looking at the cover now because they already put it up on the DC website. It has Batman on it, so I'm excited.
Yeah, and just one real quick of DC news that we read was that it looks like Damian Wayne is going to be Robin again coming up here. Mike, what are your thoughts? Tell us, the fans, a little bit about Damian Wayne and his run as Robin in the past. And, are you excited about this? Are you indifferent? Do you really care that he's coming back as Robin? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I never really got into anything with Damian Wayne as Robin. I was never like I don't Robin as a character isn't the best to me. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Robins a lot of the time, because they're usually crybabies or whatever. But like, having Bruce's son as Robin is just a crazy thing. Of course, he's supposed to be dead, and then he's coming back from the dead. It's weird.
That would pretty much sum it up. But one thing that was not weird this week: the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer leaked 6 days early. Christmas has come early, everybody. Welcome to Christmas in October. Thank you to that European guy who leaked the European trailer, forcing Marvel's hand, blaming it on Hydra. Oh my goodness. This is why our title for the 5th episode is Take My Money. I had a nerdgasm on Wednesday night. It was the greatest night of the week, of possibly the month. I died watching this trailer. I just died on my couch and went to nerd heaven. This was amazing.
I love that they blamed it on Hydra, that it came out early. That's so funny. That's like them. That's very meta of them.
Yeah, they're just like, dang it, Hydra. We might as well just release it. Let's do some fan service. Let's just get it out there in high def. 32 million views in 2 days from Wednesday to Friday. That's just Marvel in a nutshell. DC would completely deny it. They would just tell the people to take it down, and they'd say, wait till Tuesday and watch the show. Marvel's like, man, let's just get it out there. Whatever. People want it, obviously. Let's just let them have it.
Yeah, the demand is high for it. People are loving it. May 1st can't come soon enough, in my opinion. So Why not just let people see? And then it's just going to make the internet explode into speculation, and people are going to be talking about it for the next 6 months anyway. So,
and that's exactly what's happening. Everywhere you looked, all of a sudden there was a trailer breakdown. There was this or that. We're going to do our own right now. And go through, hit the major points of this trailer, some of the tonal things that we liked. So, Mike, what were your impressions when you first saw this trailer of the Avengers: Age of Ultron? I mean, just creepy and awesome all at once. But what did you think?
Yeah, it hit all the points. You know what I mean? You see Tony Stark, you see Black Widow, you see Hawkeye, you see Cap, you see the Avengers. And you're like, all right, great. So we know everybody's back. You see Samuel L. Jackson, which I love, the fact that Samuel L. Jackson is involved in anything. But then you see things, you see the robots, you see Tony Stark, you see Hulk and Iron Man fighting, you see Ultron and just him talking in his cryptic talk, his just being him. And then it piqued my interest because I don't really know a lot about Ultron. I was never I just don't know a lot about him. So I did some research and I looking him up, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be even more amazing than I thought it was going to be. Just based on how now I'm kind of upset that they're not using the comic book version of Ultron that was created by Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man.
Right, yeah, a lot of people have been a little mad about that, but at least they kind of kept it similar. Tony Stark and Hank Pym helped build one of the later Ultrons together. Tony Stark weaponized it, but it's based off Ant-Man's consciousness, so they at least tried to stay a little close in the comics with that.
Yeah, so it's still built within the Avengers, within, trying to do what it was intended to do in the original comic book sense, so that's great. But you see the broken Captain America shield, which was the biggest point for me.
Yep, that's kind of the image that stays with you, ooh, that's not good. Something just happened.
Yeah, and you're the big Marvel guy, so what were all of your, big piece? You were texting me a mile a minute when it came out.
I was having it, man. I was having nerdgasms left and right. It was bad. It was bad. It was so good.
So what did you find in it that you thought was very interesting, or things that you could speculate on?
Well, I guess we could kind of just go through the trailer piece by piece, because I think that's probably the most sound way to go through it. You get Ultron's voice. Ultron kind of narrates the whole thing. You don't hear much from anybody else, except for a line here and a line there. You have their protests going on in the streets. You can see Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the background in one of the protests. Really curious about what they're protesting. So that it looks like that's in Johannesburg, which is where the Hulk and the Hulkbuster have their fight. We're going to get to that. And just kind of, you get that scene, the party scene, where everybody's in normal clothes. They've clearly done their job. There's a bunch of Ultron scraps sitting around. And you've got Maria Hill and, War Machine, Agent Sergeant Rhodes, whatever class ranking he is now. He just seems to move up every movie he's in.
Colonel, Lieutenant, Sergeant, Master General, whatever.
Whatever he is. Rhodey is there. And, of course, there's the mystery woman in that scene. We don't really know who she is. Some people are thinking it might be Natalie Portman having a nice little short appearance as Jane Foster. It could be the Asian actress who helped Tony Stark build Ultron. I'm really not sure. So that was really a cool little scene that left a little bit to be desired. And then Ultron comes in and just says, it was a scene that was talked about in the Comic-Con preview trailer where he says, you're all puppets, you want to protect the world, but you don't want it to change. Humans are inherently flawed or something, and the only solution is your extinction. Now, they didn't put that line in the teaser trailer, but it was in the Comic-Con trailer, so it's there. Ultron's kind of just clearly put himself together of just scraps. This is the first edition of Ultron as his own sentient being, and that just kind of set the tone. Ooh, this is interesting. And from there, everything just went downhill. You see the fortress in the mountains, which we believe to be a Hydra facility of Baron von Strucker's. You get that scene of, just Thor and Captain America kicking in the door. So we see Captain America has a new suit, looks really good. I like it. I believe it's from the Marvel Now series. Don't quote me on that, but it's from one of his newer comic book runs. Looks a lot better than his first Avengers suit that was just way too spangly. That was just weird. You see Black Widow You see all these really good exchanges going on. The Hulk has clearly gone nuts. They're sitting in a Quinjet looking defeated. That, to me, was awesome. With Mark Ruffalo just in the fetal position and nobody's looking at each other, I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, it was a big thing. Like, Mark Ruffalo is, like, far and away the best Hulk for me.
Yep, he's the man. I mean, Lou Ferrigno's hard to beat based on the time period in which, like, he had to be Bruce Banner and the Hulk and all that, but, like, Mark Ruffalo, to me, has done an amazing job of playing Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and really capturing that persona. The tone of this trailer immediately told you this is not going to be like the first movie. This is going to be dark. Like, this is going to be deep, it's going to be emotional, and get ready. I mean, we saw Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch with Ultron, which I'm curious to where that's going. I can't explain that one. Some other quick glimpses you got. You saw Hawkeye in his very much Marvel 616 normal suit with kind of the purple long sleeves. It's very much his outdoor suit. There's clearly a fight that takes place in the snow. I'm not sure what's going to go on with that. There's a flashback scene where Captain America is in his World War II suit, like not his fighting suit, but like his actual army suit with all of his tags and stuff. And he's at some kind of dance. So I'm curious about what that's going to be, because we've heard that Peggy Carter's going to show up in this film at some point, so it's probably going to be in that flashback, or mirrored reality. With Scarlet Witch, you're never really sure, because you have that scene where she's in Europe and she lets out a big scream, and Scarlet Witch is so powerful that she once wiped out every mutant off of planet Earth. So pretty much anything's possible with her. I'm really curious as to what that's going to lead to. We saw a bit of her and Quicksilver's power, which was awesome. I think Quicksilver looks great. It's a different effect than they used in the X-Men, but I think it works. So those things have me excited. They gave me everything I wanted. I saw all the main characters. One thing that I really want to talk about, though, like other than the Hulkbuster, which is cool, like clearly the Hulk went insane. I'm guessing he's being controlled by Scarlet Witch, and Hydra fights, and all these kind of things going on. There's two things I want to talk about, but the first one is there was an appearance from Andy Serkis in this trailer, which at first to me I'm like, well, why is he in the trailer? I'm like, why would you put him in there? And I realized, okay, wait a second, they wouldn't put anything stupid in this trailer unless it has like a greater purpose. So then it kind of came to me. He looks like somebody. And Mike, I sent you the pictures. I sent you all the info. I think Andy Serkis in this movie is playing Ulysses Klaue, the famous Black Panther villain.
Yeah, or he's just referred to as Claw when he becomes the super villain who, you know, got his hand. Like, this could lead up to so many different things. This is the biggest thing from the trailer, and I wanted you to introduce it because you have a little bit more knowledge of who Ulysses Klaue is. You didn't have to go to Wikipedia for 15 minutes and read the entire page like I did today. But, like, it sets up Marvel for the next Captain America movie. If they do the Black Panther movie, they have a villain now in place for that, as well as continuing to go forward with Hydra stuff and Thunderbolts and everything else. And it could also, if they do, you know, we're getting the Civil War movie, the Thunderbolts play a prominent role in Civil War.
Yeah, so the thing with me is, okay, obviously, Ultron, you know, as he's upgrading himself, adamantium does not exist in this version of the Marvel Universe because it's over at Fox. So the best metal that you have left is vibranium. And of course, there's only one place to get vibranium, and that's Wakanda. But Ultron may not know that. However, like, if he's working with Hydra, hence how he's kind of gotten connected with the twins, then it would be, okay, where can I find the strongest metal to give me the best form, to make me indestructible, basically indestructible? And of course, there'd be this guy, you know, Claw, who says, hey, I specialize in vibranium. I know where you can find some. Maybe they don't go to Wakanda, but maybe he just has some. And you get that awesome little exchange. He only has to be in the movie for a few minutes. And all of a sudden you have that big drop of, vibranium source. Here we go. Wakanda. There it is. And it plays into so much. And Andy Serkis, they made him look just like him. If he's not Claw, I'm going to be incredibly shocked. Because you put them side by side, they're basically the same dude. Like, Andy Serkis and Claw look just like each other, the way they had him done.
You sent me the comic book Claw, then the animated series version of Claw, and then the picture of Andy Serkis, and it might as well have just been the same thing.
Yep, it's too good to be not true.
The only thing Andy Serkis was missing was the hat. He didn't have the hat on.
He even had the same color shirt with the same type of collar. It's like, I'll be darned if this isn't Claw. Like, come on.
The shirt, the facial hair, the haircut, and everything.
Yep, he's got to be Claw, which just tells you that's awesome that they're going to give him a role in another movie. Like, good for them, because Andy Serkis is known for playing CGI creations and motion capture creations like Caesar from the Planet of the Apes and, Gollum from Lord of the Rings. So good for Andy Serkis that his face actually gets to be in a film, and that's awesome. So you
apparently,
get... go ahead, Mike.
Apparently the Vision was also in this trailer.
Really? See, that's weird, because I thought there might have been, like, a little glimpse of him, like, of his hand being formed, but I couldn't really tell. So I'm waiting to... if they release... This is the thing about Marvel. They may release another thing on this episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Tuesday with a little bit of bonus footage for the people who actually do tune in to watch the episode and didn't just watch the teaser. Because they did call it a teaser trailer, which makes me think, okay, they said that the trailer is coming on Tuesday. So could we get an extra 30 seconds of stuff on Tuesday? I hope so. It's just another reason to watch.
Yeah, well, I mean, according to this Wikipedia that I'm looking at for the Age of Ultron page, they're also getting the guy, Paul Bettany, I think his name is.
Oh, Paul Bettany, yeah, the voice of Jarvis.
Jarvis is supposed to be the Vision in the movie.
Right, yeah, they confirmed that at Comic-Con. They don't explain how, they don't explain if Ultron makes him or if Tony Stark makes him. I hope Ultron makes him, because that just makes for a way better story, and it's comic book accurate. If Ultron says, I'm creating the Vision as my answer to humanity, basically. So, if you're not familiar with Ultron, basically he's a robot that Tony Stark and Ant-Man, but in this case, Tony Stark is creating to help the Avengers kind of not have to fight every battle. And Ultron is trying to do what his job is, which is, fix humanity. But his thing is, humanity's flawed. They can't be fixed. They have to just take him out. And he evolves himself, and as you can see by the end of the trailer, he starts to look like a person. He has eyebrows that move, he has lips, and it's freaky when he says there are no strings on me. Like, I've never felt so demented about Pinocchio in my life until that moment.
Yeah, he is...
And that is James Spader from The Blacklist playing Ultron, by the way. He did motion capture, and he does the voice.
That James Spader... Marvel spares no expense when it comes to these movies. They go out, and when they need a big name like that, they go and get them instead of developing the names like they did, or reviving somebody's career in the case of Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man.
Yeah, now they can just get whoever they want.
There it is. They just go, oh yeah, you want to play the big bad guy in our next movie?
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, because you're going to back a dump truck load of cash up to my house. Sure, and then I'm going to get all these tie-in things too. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, it's like we may make $2 billion on this movie. I mean, come on.
Who's going to say no to Marvel at this point when they're asked to do a cinematic thing? I mean, James Spader has his TV. You said it. The Blacklist is going great for him.
It's an incredibly successful show.
So why? What I mean, it's not like he needed the money. He wants to be involved in this Marvel thing because he sees that it's probably going a lot of places.
Oh, yeah. And kind of back to Ulysses Claw, so just kind of to wrap that up, what you get with that is, of course, the villain, part of another villain for this film. Then you get, okay, in Captain America 3, obviously Captain America's not going to have a shield. Got to get that fixed. Where are you going to go? Oh, hey, I hear that there's... So he's going to track down somebody and say, hey, okay, where did this shield get made? Oh, Wakanda? Maybe I should go to Wakanda. Maybe I should go talk to somebody, And you're going to have Black Panther there, which is going to be awesome. And so then you just have a little bit of appearance of Black Panther, set up he exists, and then have Claw against Black Panther in the Black Panther solo film in 2016 or 2017. Or 2017 or 2018 is really what I meant. So I'm guessing 2017. I'm thinking that'll be one of the films then. So you can get around that and make it work, and I think it's going to be awesome. The other big thing from this is that there's a lot of Avengers disassembled feel. Everybody's hating Tony Stark. Thor has him by the neck. Then Thor sees something and drops his hammer. Did he drop his hammer, or did it fall out of his hand because he's no longer worthy? just something to be considered based on what's happening in the comics right now. You get that scene with Black Widow and Hulk. So there's a lot of just, man, there's a lot going on that's setting up big things for the Marvel Universe, especially the Avengers disassembling. Civil War and Captain America 3 would make a lot of sense based on this trailer. Because Tony Stark is making some big mistakes, trying to basically cover up for his wrongs, and all he's doing is creating more separation between his ideals and Captain America's.
Yep. And then, I mean, even going back to that scene that you were talking about where they're all sitting on the plane, and nobody's looking
and Tony Stark is not on the plane.
Exactly. You had everybody with the 1,000-yard stares, just looking out the window, kind of like, in like zombie mode because they don't want to talk. What happened that scene happens in the movie? That's what I want to know. I can't even talk. Listen to me. I was so excited for this that I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah, I think I've watched the trailer a total of 17 or 18 times, and I'm going to continue to watch it because it's just cinematic gold. The last thing I wanted to talk about, Mike, probably they didn't give a whole lot of this in the trailer, but it was an amazing little 2 seconds. All of those Ultron bots shooting out of the water and invading that building. My goodness, this is going to be a film of global epic proportions. They showed multiple countries, they showed multiple locations, and then we have Ultron looking freaking awesome with Ultron bots? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's comic accurate to things that have happened in the Ultron storyline. Now, of course, they did do his appearance over the years. They did do the Age of Ultron book, I think it was 2010 or 2011.
Yeah, and that didn't get very good reviews. They said there's actually very little connection between the name of the film and the name of the comic.
Exactly, that's where I was going with that. They didn't say that was based on the comic. It's just Ultron is the villain, and he happens to have, there happens to be a comic book titled the same thing, but it's not connected.
Yeah, they actually had said that they kind of had an idea for the movie title when the comic was out, so I'm just trying to think, is there anything we're missing? Scarlet Witch looked really good, her powers looked really good, they translated well to the screen. I think we're going to get a little bit of Black Widow origin in this from what I'm telling, too. There's that scene with the ballerina dancing, and there's definitely a history of Black Widow being a ballerina dancer as she was learning to, be a spy and stuff, like she did that when she was a child. So I think we're going to get some really interesting stuff in this film. Of course, there's a lot of stuff. If you just watch the trailer, there's a lot of awesome stuff. There's a lot of fighting. You have the Avengers looking like they're all dead, the broken Captain America shield, not really sure what's going on with that. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, you don't really know whose side they're on. Hydra's at the background, and I've heard that there might be an appearance of Thanos in this film. I'm guessing maybe in the post-credits scene, not really sure. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if there was a scene of, like, Baron von Strucker with Thanos or something like that. So there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of rumored cameos of, like, Miss Marvel and other people in this film. Mockingbird might even be in this film. We're not 100% sure. So this film this could change, movies even greater than we thought it would. Like, the potential for this, because Marvel has shown their ability to adapt and to grow, they're listening, and saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, our last movie was super light. It had kind of a shallow villain. This movie has a dark villain with a deep origin, with deep motivation. It's super dark. The team is going against each other. It's falling apart by the seams. Give me the movie. Take my money, all of it, past, present, and future, and just give me more of this.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that I took away from the trailer. And it was the biggest thing that we talked about at during our little text message conversation when the trailer had, been released by Hydra, was that it's tonally, not totally, T-O-T-A-L, tonally, T-O-N-A-L, different than the other movie.
Yep, it's going to be completely different, and if you like dark and gritty, well, this will probably be your film. Like, there's going to be some crap going down on the screen in this one. This is going to completely reshape the Marvel Universe, probably set up Civil War. Please just give it to me and take my money, and give me Spider-Man. Like, if Spider-Man was just to appear in this film somehow, oh boy. Because Andrew Garfield, by the way, lives in Britain where this film was shot. They could have easily snuck him on set and no one would have known. So, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and of course, it's a Marvel movie, so Stan Lee's going to be in there somewhere. I want to see where they're going to stick him in.
Oh, man. So much to look forward to. 6 months cannot come quick enough. I am going to go to the midnight showing of that film, probably dressed as something awesome. I want that new Captain America costume. Just give it to me. Give me that motorcycle that the Black Widow is riding on out of the Quinjet. Like, Just give me something. Well, I guess there's one thing I had a problem with. Samuel L. Jackson burned his eye patch at the end of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and he had it on in this trailer. They better give me a darn good explanation for why. That's all I gotta say.
He's Samuel L. Jackson. He's Nick Fury. He does what he wants. Or it could be one of those, life doubles that Nick Fury likes to have.
Yeah, it could be a life model decoy. Good call, Mike. I didn't even think about that.
He's always got something up his sleeve.
Yep, so basically, go watch the trailer if you haven't done so yet. Feel free to look up Claw, look up, Andy Serkis. That's kind of the biggest mystery of all this. There's a lot of stuff. We don't nearly have the time to talk about it. When they release another trailer, though, what we might do, something that Mike and I have talked about just for something for you, the fans, to look forward to, is get some of our other comic book friends who are really involved in this stuff on the show, and then have like a panel discussion just about the trailers as they get bigger and bigger, as the movie gets closer and closer. So a lot of awesome stuff in this trailer. Go look at it. Make it your wallpaper. Do whatever. It's amazing. There's no other way to put it. This is probably one of the best movie trailers. It's just a teaser, by the way, that I have ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, we are taking the complete opposite approach to this than some of my friends take. Like my friend Jeff, he's like, what do I need to see these teaser trailers for? I know I'm going to see the movie, and I know it's going to be awesome already. He wants to be fully surprised. Where we want to sit and take it and break it down and try and figure out what's going to happen. That's the Batman in us coming out.
Yep, we're doing our detective work.
We're trying to do our detective work to figure out how much more awesome this movie is going to be.
Yeah, it's just so good. Thank you, Marvel. Take my money, all of it. So just as we always do, we have our last little segment of the week. This is our Rants of the Week. Of course, this is a little bit shorter show than you're used to having from us. It's because, there wasn't a lot that happened, and we wanted to give due justice to all the big news that came out, especially that trailer. We didn't want to make this show too long, so we just decided to go with this. Mike, you got anything you want to rant on here at the end of the show?
This is my Rant of the Week, and it's not like a huge rant. I play a lot of Destiny. I've had the game beaten for a few weeks now. I just want more content from it. Like, the fact that I'm doing the same thing over and over every day is kind of a pain. But it bothers me that some of my friends aren't leveled up all the way yet, so we can't officially complete that raid and get to the level cap, the firm level cap of 30 instead of the soft cap of 20. But I just want the DLC to come out already. Like, they took away our events. We had, for 3 weeks, we had events where we could go do something different, but it was still the same. But then they took those away now this week and next week. Bungie. The game looks amazing. The gameplay is what we thought it was going to be. It's going to be a great first-person shooter. The story was a little bit shallow. It was a great story. I mean, we talked about it on the first episode. It has a lot of places that it can go if they can continue this franchise. But the game has been out for a month, and a lot of people are frustrated that the game they're done with it. So actually, it's a little over a month. It's like 6 weeks. You shouldn't be done with a game like this in 6 weeks. It was supposed to be this big, grandiose thing. Where's the rest of the content? Give me the DLC early. I'm glad I have a PlayStation, because they have console exclusive stuff, but I'm ready for the next step. I want to see what's going to happen next in Destiny. Please hurry up.
A good rant there, Mike. It's true. A lot of the stuff with Destiny is epic because you have to play all these things with your friends, but it's possibly the most epic and frustrating game all at once, from what I'm understanding.
I mean, you've seen it. You saw all the streams that I did over on the Twitch, and if you haven't,
yeah, go
they're
follow.
all highlights. They're all highlights on my Twitch stream, but they're rather long. But that's neither here nor there. But you've seen this stuff. Like, a lot of the things that we did wound up being the same missions over and over, and we had to come back to them.
Yeah, I mean, what's ultimately, for me, in Destiny and watching the game, and, I have the game, I just haven't gotten a chance to start playing it yet, is those moments when you can't beat the tank or stuff. That seems to be what's more epic than anything. It's like it creates some really cool memories where that you played with your friends trying to beat the game. But as far as content goes, yeah, I'm with you, man. Like, get on it, Bungie. Like, what's the delay? I don't get. Maybe they didn't expect people to beat the game this fast. I don't really know. But hey, listen, Bungie, you will be surprised at what people with very little to no lives can do. And it's like, you have a life, and you have a full-time job. One of our buddies, Alabama, he has a full-time job, and yet he's also done the same as you. So
all the normal people that I play with, Sean, Cancun, Lambo, Cody, all those guys work regular jobs, like 9 to 5 jobs, and we've all completed the game in 4 weeks. I think we've been for the last 2.5 weeks. We've been going around trying to get as high as we possibly can and do that raid, which we failed at terribly because we learned that we needed a 6th person. But maybe my tone will change when you start playing David and when my buddy Casey starts playing, and I have to start a new character over in a class that I haven't played since the alpha build of this.
Yeah, that could be Destiny's also purposes. Hey, just create other characters, do the game over, and challenge yourself. I don't know, maybe.
I mean, that's the thing is I've played the Hunter class on the game since the Destiny Alpha was released in the middle of the summer. And then I played it in the beta. And now I'm playing it on the full version. It's the same. I haven't changed my character. So maybe when I go back, when you and Casey start playing, I go back and make that Titan or Warlock, it'll change the game experience for me because I'll get to mess with new mechanics in their special attacks or whatever and build my characters differently.
Absolutely. So, good rant, Mike. Good rant.
What do you have, David?
Mine is about this Marvel movie stuff and all this stuff. Last week I kind of ranted on DC. I'm kind of doing it again, but I'm more ranting on fans because there's a lot of fans out there that are like, oh, Marvel released a trailer. What's the big deal? Here's the thing, is that DC, this is the difference between planning and panicking. DC had to panic, and Warner Brothers specifically, not so much DC. DC doesn't control their own films. I wish they did. Warner Brothers had to panic and release everything that's coming for the next 6 years so that their shareholders didn't jump ship. Marvel has planned and got such a track record because they could take their time and do this right that there's still so much secrecy. We can sit here and speculate because we don't know. Whereas with DC, when there's a cameo by The Flash or Aquaman or anything like that, we know they were coming. We know what's coming from DC now. Which kind of takes a lot of the fun out of it for us as people who talk about it and for fans in general, because it's all planned. We know what's coming. The surprise element that is so hard to get is now gone because they've announced what's coming, whereas Marvel just has blank dates in the future. We don't know who's going to be what date other than what they've told us, and they don't tell us very much, so we don't really know. We don't know what's in development, even though they kind of say, oh yeah, that could happen. I like that idea. I really like Captain Marvel. I really like Black Panther, I really like Doctor Strange. But they didn't, announce the film. So you get this awesome dynamic of, I could go to a Marvel movie and literally see anything, and that's part of the hype, is this trailer came out and it's like, Andy Serkis. Goodness, who could this guy even be playing? Whereas, when a DC trailer comes out and they show somebody, it's like, okay, well, we know who's going to be in the film, so who would make sense? Probably Aquaman. If we didn't already know who Aquaman was, but we do. So, once again, takes all the fun out of it. Marvel, for me, that's just what they've done so well, is that they play to the fans, but they always leave you wanting more. Whereas DC plays to the fans as well, and but they mostly play to their shareholders. Whereas Marvel, of being under Disney, who really, they could care less, Disney's swimming in cash every day, that they're like, you know what, just do whatever you want. Have some fun with this. And I like that. That for me, honestly, is what, regardless of my comic books, which I know Marvel better than DC, film-wise, that's what makes me love Marvel so much. I could go to a movie, and I'm just excited. What could I see in this film? It's like Guardians of the Galaxy, Howard the freaking Duck. No one was expected to see Howard the Duck, or Cosmo the Russian, psychic dog. That's the kind of stuff that just makes Marvel so special to me, is they're not afraid to go outside the box in their universe and throw fans a bone and just have some fun and surprise people. That's awesome.
Yeah, how many DC movies do you sit and wait for the after credits scene?
Yeah, or sit there and say, gosh, I wonder who's going to appear in this film. You didn't ever have that, because they're so grounded and, so narrow in their focus that you don't sit there and just say, gosh, okay, I'm going to see Batman versus Superman. Who could possibly appear in this film? Other than Green Arrow, who they haven't said is going to be in it just based on, the origins in which they're taking it from. But other than that, it's like, where's the excitement,
Yeah, it's definitely lacking being the DC guy, being the Batman guy. DC kind of dropped the ball on this, where they're, like you said, they're playing to the shareholders and not the stakeholders. if that makes sense. The stakeholders being the fans, where the shareholders are obviously the people with the money in their pockets that are backing all this stuff.
Yeah, they're playing to the suits instead of the fanboys, which I guess that's okay. Like, but that's just my problem with Warner Brothers and the way that they've handled their DC franchises. They could have done so much better. And as we've been saying all along, you know what? Everybody has to just react to Marvel now. If you are a film studio trying to build a shared universe, you just have to go with what Marvel's been doing, because they started from nothing. They had to do their movies in co-op with other studios just to get them released. And it's been fine because they had a vision. They said, we have a long-term plan, and we're going to stick to it for better or for worse. We're going to sell our characters to you. We're going to make them look like the people from the comics, and we're not even going to apologize for it. We're just going to go out and we're going to have a good time.
That's kind of come back to bite them now recently with the way that this has gone. The fact that they can't get the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man.
Right, yeah. So it's now starting to catch up with them. But at the time, it was good business. I mean, what can you do? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not their fault. Like, Fox just won't give back the rights to Fantastic Four. Like, X-Men is different. They've done fine with X-Men. I'm okay with that. But as far as, like, the Fantastic Four, it's like, give the rights back. You know, same thing with Sony and Spider-Man. They'll probably never give the rights back, but at least, like, sell part of them. Like, please? You know? Yeah. I'd be okay with that. So... just some very, very curious things going on, and I just like what I'm seeing. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited for DC because I like the characters, but it's a different kind of excitement, whereas I'm like, I hope DC doesn't screw this up, whereas Marvel's like, can do no wrong, you know? And they proved it with this trailer where we were all worried, like, oh, this is going to just be one of those things, so team up, beat Ultron, beat the Ultron bots, beat Hydra, whoopity-doo, game over, whereas now it's like, the Avengers may not make it out of this movie alive, like... I'm a little concerned. So, just the hype machine, the hype train can't stop. The wheels are off the tracks. It's flying everywhere, and it's a great thing to be a nerd. We say it every week. It's a great time to be a nerd. It's awesome.
Yes, if you like comic books or weird nerdy things, this is some of the best time since probably about 2010. It's the best time to be a comic book fan, and it's really hitting its peak right now. Hopefully, that climax continues to rise throughout the next few years. Into that 2020 window where we've had a bunch of speculated movies or announced, looking at you, Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
But we know that things are in motion to keep this train rolling, and hopefully they don't all, fall off the tracks.
Right. 2015 only has three superhero films. You have the Avengers: Age of Ultron, you have the Fantastic Four reboot, and you have Ant-Man. But then in 2016, you get like 6. And in 2017, you get like 7 or something. So basically, 2015 is the calm before the storm. And in 2016, your pockets shall be emptied, my friends. Go see movies in 3D. Just go support your favorite studios. And read the comics, too. If you like what's going on in the comics, go buy them. Seriously. Support your favorite studios. But with that is the end of our 5th episode, Take My Money. It's been fun. Of course, as always, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter, Mad Nerds, AZNV, and follow us individually as well. Mike, what's your tag?
Yeah, Mike is the Hat, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Got all the videos up there. Got the manager mode from FIFA. Got the FIFA Ultimate Team packs things where you can see what I'm building towards. Going to start doing the NBA 2K a little bit more often. There's all the Destiny stuff up there, like I said. So there's a lot of things going on the Twitch channel. I'm taking the donation thing off, by the way, because I'm going to save that rant for next week. You'll hear it next week why that donations thing is coming off of my page, but go check it out. David also has highlights up of me doing work. David, what have you got?
Yes, on Superhero Deuce. So Superhero and then Deuce is D-E-U-C-E. Realize some people don't know how to spell that, so want to make sure you get that correct. Yeah, Mike and I played a little bit of co-op. Did some co-op FIFA. It was a lot of fun playing on our Pro Club mode, and I did some commentary on there. We tried to get Mike on and do a little bit of co-op commentary, but it didn't work so well. But Mike is playing in the game. And we had some fun conversations, tried to do my best to explain what Mike was saying so you could get the humor out of it. Because Mike and I, for some reason, are a lot more funny on our streams than we are on our podcast. I still can't figure that one out yet, probably because we just make fun of the people we're playing against, which is awesome. But, so follow me on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, Superhero Deuce. It's been a great time, everybody. Once again, thank you for joining us for this episode. Take My Money. Hit us up on Facebook, like the group. We love you guys. Hello, NSA guy. We are out.